Hi, Heather. How
How
are
are
you?
you? Good, good. How are you?
Fine as well. And hello to the Peanut Gallery.
Yes, hello. Thank you for joining us. If you guys have any questions that you want to ask Michael Shackelford, please put it in the chat and we will get to them. Mike, have you done anything new lately?
Well, I continue to climb a lot of the local mountains, and I'm now a leader in the 52P Club.
Oh, wow.
And I'm really on a magic kick lately. I have been on and off magic kicks for a long time, but
Mhm.
I'm really into it right now. I could probably do like a 2 hour magic show. I have so much material, and and in case you're wondering, my emphasis is mentalism, but I also like, let's just say, number tricks, things that are mathematically based. So I've been having a lot of fun with that. My only problem is getting people to do the tricks on. But I have put on a lot of little magic shows for friends, and yeah, for the most part, it's worked out well.
We really need to set up like a convention or something where you go and people could do like a meet and greet and you could do like magic tricks on them.
That would be fun. One problem though, and I don't mean to put anybody down, but my circle of friends here, like the advantage players, they are horrible to do magic tricks to because they analyze everything to death. And they say, "Well, Mike, why didn't you do that? Why didn't you cover that? Why didn't you do it this way? I know how you did that." So they're just no fun.
Oh my
So
God.
you don't, I hate to put it this way, but you don't want to do magic tricks on people that are too smart. Now, some of them will mind their manners and keep their mouth shut if they figure something out. But most of them don't. Most of them want to impress me or whoever else is around by tooting their own horn that they figured it out. So
Oh, well, if any of them are watching this, then just know if you know the answer, keep your mouth shut.
yes, and don't make it too difficult on the magician. For example, in one trick, I ask the volunteer to pick a number between 1 and 100. And so I did it to one of my smarter friends. And what number does he pick? He picks pi. I mean, come
Oh
on,
my
that's not what I
God.
meant. So, all right, Heather, that's enough about that.
Okay, sounds good. Should we go to forum questions or
Well, I do
your
have some trivia,
questions? Uh-huh.
and this week's topic is the Supreme Court. And we've been
Oh.
hearing a lot about the Supreme Court in the news lately.
Mhm.
And so let's have some questions about it. And I'm going to ask people that read my newsletter that came out today to recuse themselves because they're exactly the same questions. And as always, please no searching. Um, just um, just go by what you already know. So no cheating. And let's start it out with question number one. Which two justices have appeared on paper money?
Okay, so if you
So you
guys know
guys
the
ruminate on that
answer.
one. And meanwhile, Heather, let's ask some questions that were queued up before we started.
Sounds good. So yes, if you know the answer, put it in the chat. We will answer them here shortly. Our first question is from Keno. Hi, Mike. Tribal casinos that use a central server network to adjust odds on video slots and video Keno. Uh, Video Keno can also be adjusted. Am I right?
Probably. So what he's talking about is prior to what's called server-based gaming. Let's say that the slot manager wanted to tighten or loosen their machines. He would have to open the machine up and either go through a bunch of steps to change the return, or you might have to physically like change a microchip in there. And it was, kind of a tedious process. And if you wanted to loosen or tighten every single machine, it would take hours. So now, in theory, they can do everything from one computer. And now there are some safeguards in place. For example, they did this at the Treasure Island, and at the Treasure Island, I believe there was a rule like you could not change the rules or the return on a game unless it had not been played for a certain period of time, like 15 minutes. So that way they can't say, I don't like that redheaded woman. Let's make the game tighter on her that she's already playing. No, they can't do that. I can't speak to what they're doing at any tribal casinos, but yeah, that is the gist of it. And can they do it to video Keno? I don't know for sure, but I would imagine that they can. So that's about as far as I can take that one. Good question.
Cool. Now let's see if you guys have an answer to that trivia question.
This is a tough one. I'll be really impressed if anyone gets even one of them.
I don't see anyone answer.
Okay. Well, I will just answer it for myself. Justice number one, who appeared on Paper Money, was John Marshall. He appeared on the 1918 series of the $500 bill. And Justice number two was Salmon P. Chase, and he appeared on the 1928 and a 1934 series of the $10,000 bill. So kind of, you don't see those two currencies or denominations very often. So that's kind of a obscure fact. So let's go on to question number two. Okay. Who is the only person to serve as both a Supreme Court justice and president?
Oh, so if you know the answer, put it in the chat. And while we wait, shall we go on to question number two?
Yes.
Okay, so this question is from TSW. Other players like to play my trips bet on Ultimate Texas Hold'em. Some dealers and pit bosses say it's not allowed. Is there a danger of them not paying a big hand because someone else played my bonus bet?
I would say that if the casino honors the bet, no matter who makes it, then they're going to pay it. Now, it's possible that there might be a fight between the players about who made the bet, and I've seen this happen when I was at the casino in Brussels. The players were just total suckers for the side bet that was on the blackjack table, and everyone made their own except me. And they fought with each other over who got to make this side bet for me. And, I just said, I don't care. You guys figure it out for yourselves. And there was one time where my hand hit something and two players both claimed to have made the bet. And then the casino manager had to call up to surveillance and they had to pause the game while they rewound the footage to figure out who made the bet. And so meanwhile, the game was standing dead. Everyone's sitting around waiting. So this might be why a casino might not like it when players do this. So, but mathematically, they absolutely should allow it. So if I ran a casino, I would allow it as long as it wasn't too big of a distraction. So there you go. For some reason, people don't like doing that as much in the U.S., but in other countries, you do see a lot of back betting. And so yeah, there you go.
So we have a couple answers to your trivia question.
Okay.
Is it William Howard Taft?
It is. It is William Howard Taft.
Congrats. Yes.
Congratulations to, it looks like Spencer Shortwave.
Yes.
And
Spencer
Mo the
Shortwave.
Cat. Good old Mo the Cat. You can always count on him to be a trivia genius.
Mo the Cat should go on Jeopardy.
Hopefully against me. And I mean that just not that I can beat him, but just because it would be fun to play against him.
Yeah. Okay, so what is our next trivia question?
Next question, the trivia question is, who served the longest term as a Supreme Court justice?
Okay, so put your answer.
No, not just any justice, but Chief Justice.
Oh, Chief Justice. So who was the longest serving Chief Justice?
Yep.
Gotcha.
Okay.
So put your answer in the chat. And should we go on to the next question?
Yep.
So this is from Tom. Hi, I'm Tom from Germany. I'm going on a road trip next year through the Southwest, and I'm planning to stay in Vegas for a couple of days. Question, is it allowed to use a printed chart when playing blackjack?
Guten Tag, Tom. Wie geht es Ihnen? To answer your question, absolutely it's allowed. They even sell them in the gift shops. I've done it myself a long, long time ago before I memorized the basic strategy. The only caveat I would give is that if you significantly slow down the game, they might not like it. So I would try to at least memorize all the hard hands. So that way you're only going to have to consult the table with a soft hand or a split. And you're only going to get a non-obvious soft hand or a split. I don't know, maybe 5% of the time. So yeah, it doesn't look too good to be consulting it all the time, but it absolutely is allowed.
Awesome.
Haben Sie
Okay.
eine gute Reise?
And that means
Have a good trip.
have a good trip. Awesome. Yep. Okay, so it doesn't look like we have an answer to that trivia question.
Okay, do I have to answer it myself?
Oh, wait, we got one. We got one. Is it Ruth Bader Ginsburg?
No, it is not. It is not Ruth. Good guess, though. She was on there for a long time, but she does not hold the record, and she was never Chief Justice. She was just an Associate Justice.
Yeah. So that was our only answer. We don't have any other answers besides that one.
So the correct answer is John Marshall, who served as Chief Justice from 1801 to 1835, 34 years.
Okay, good to know.
Okay, question number 4. Who served the longest as an Associate Justice?
Put your answer in the chat. And while we are waiting, do you want to go back to the viewers or do you want to do a forum question?
Why don't we let's do some forum questions. Why don't you ask me one more peanut gallery question while I pull up the Wizard of Vegas questions?
Okay, so this is from Cantil. Mike, if I'm playing triple double bonus poker and I get dealt the 4 aces with any 2, 3, or 4 naturally, do I have to hold hands or will it auto hold it for me and pay me 4,000 credits?
All right, let me read that. Okay, short answer is I'm not sure. I do know that if you get a dealt royal, it holds it immediately, automatically. And this actually happened to me once. I've had one dealt royal in my life. Does it do that with with 4 aces and a good kicker? I've never had that happen to me, so I'm not exactly sure. Maybe someone else in the peanut gallery can address that. But I tend to think the answer is no, because in theory, you could improve that hand to a royal flush.
Okay.
So that's as far as I can take that one.
Good to know. And then what is our forum question?
Okay, the forum question is, so Gilles Mayer, hi G, he had a question about what we were talking about with the ticket in, ticket out slips on the last live stream. So number 1, he says, do you think casinos are exploiting the coin shortage situation for their own convenience and profit, or do you think they are innocently trying to deal with the situation as best they can? I don't know. I think that it's probably some combination. I'm not going to say that they're totally unaffected by the coin shortage. And I think that I can say this without anyone getting mad, that some casinos that shall remain nameless have paid above face value for coins. So that goes to show you that they do need coins. However, some casinos stock their TITO machines with coins and some do not. And so my feelings about that from the last show. So yeah, so short answer is I don't know. And it's probably some combination. And question number 2 is, what is the legality of a person scrounging tossed coin vouchers off the casino floor and cashing them in? So there happens to be a whole thread about this on my forum right now. But here in Nevada, and I think most states, it is illegal that if you drop a TITO slip on the casino floor, it technically becomes casino property. And if a casino employee finds it or somebody turns it in, they're not just going to say, oh, casino property, yay for us. No, they will put it in the lost and found, and give a fair period of time for somebody to claim it, which I'm sure hardly anyone ever does if the amount is small. And even after that period has expired, I think in Nevada, much of that money goes to the state. So yeah, but I have heard some stories, not very many, of people being thrown out or 86'd for scrounging around casino looking for abandoned slips. But most casinos don't like it, but they don't bother to prosecute it either. So yeah, that's the best I can do with that one.
Okay, cool. Now it looks like we have one answer to your trivia question.
Okay.
Is it Velen Dank Michael?
Nope, never even heard of that, Justice.
Nope. And that's all of the answers we have for that trivia question.
Okay, so the answer is William Douglas, who served 36 and a half years from 1939 to 1975. And moving right along, number 6. What is the current annual salary for both an associate justice and the chief justice?
So if you guys know that answer, put it in the chat. We will be checking here in just 1 second. And then do you want to do a form question or a question from our viewers?
Let's do another form question.
Okay.
Okay. Odious Gambit asks, I won't read the whole thing, but he mentioned how we have discussed free bets in sports betting promotions. For example, if you make a bet in sports, then the sports book will give you a free bet of the same amount if your original bet loses. So it's kind of like getting 2 chances to win. So Odious Gambit says, what if they don't give you a free bet, but just give you, shall we say, just some free money if you make a bet, like say 10% of the amount of the bet. I worked on that before the show. And where did I put my math? Okay, and he also asks on strategy of how you would do that. So, okay, so the break-even point with this is 10% of the amount you're required to bet. And that's based upon maybe I'm confusing myself here. Okay, no, I think I misspoke. He is asking about free bets, but where it's not for the full amount of the original bet. So if the free bet must be a straight bet, for example, against the point spread or the total where it's pays about even money, then you break even if the free bet is 10% of the original bet. So you come out ahead if it's more than 10% and less if it's less than 10%. However, if you're allowed to make money line bets, which you should, and by the way, if you get a free bet and you win the free bet, you don't get the amount of the free bet back. For example, if you get a $100 free bet and win even money, they're just going to give you the winnings, not $200. They just give you $100. So if you're allowed to make a money line bet with the free bet, that is definitely what you should do, betting on an underdog. And there, assuming you bet on a big underdog, I find that the value, the break-even point is at about 5% of the amount that you're required to bet. For example, if they say, if you bet $100, we will give you a free bet of 5% of the regular initial bet, then you about break even. So And again, they're either bet on an underdog on the money line, like a big underdog, or if they allow it, do a big parlay where you're parlaying a bunch of teams together. And I would try to get to a win of about 10 to 1 or so. So that's enough time on that one. Bring it up on the forum if you didn't understand that. And so let's go back to the trivia. Did anyone get the longest serving? No, the salaries of the justices.
So we have a couple people guessing. First one is Mo the Cat. Is it 150,000 for a justice and 200,000 for a chief justice?
No, it is more than that.
And we have Simple Man saying, I remember reading Kavanaugh made 250,000. Is that correct? 253,000?
Very, very close. So the Chief Justice, who is currently John Roberts, his annual salary is $267,000, and the Associate Justices, including Kavanaugh, have a salary of $255,300.
Wow.
So there you go. Pretty well paying job.
Definitely. So what is our next trivia question?
The next one is, who is the only justice to be impeached?
Oh, okay. Didn't even know there was one.
Yeah, not just presidents can be impeached. I think, judges and I think any elected official can be impeached.
Interesting.
But about that, I'm not positive.
So if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. Also, too, if you have any questions that you want Michael Shackelford to answer for you, please also put those in the chat and we will get to them. Shall we do a question now?
Yeah, let's go back to the peanut gallery.
Cool. So our next one is from Chad, and he has a roulette question. Is it better to make one big bet or a bunch of small bets? I've noticed it's better to make a few big bets and then leave regardless of winnings. What do you think?
It depends on the reason that you're playing. If you like volatility, then just make one bet. But if you like low volatility, then make lots of them. And it doesn't really matter like when exactly you get up. Of course, the more you play, the more you're going to lose. But the house advantage in 00 roulette is 5.26% on every bet except one, and it doesn't make any difference what you bet as long as you don't bet on the 5-number combination. So that's about as far as I'll take that one.
Okay, cool. And shall we do another question, or should we see if anyone...
Let's do another question because that was a quick one.
Okay, sounds good. Next one is from Spencer. And Spencer says, should a skilled poker player, video poker player, be concerned with maximizing the amount of comps that they get from casinos, mixed in with a small amount of slot play as a sort of cover tactic?
That's a good question. My short answer is no. I don't think that casinos analyze player behavior to such a depth that they say, oh, well, he plays 99% slots, and I mean 99% video poker and 1% slots. The way the casinos think is that everything that plugs in is a slot. And yes, they also know about video poker, and they generally don't like video poker players, but I don't think playing 1% on real slots is going to fool them. So yeah, I would say that in most situations, I wouldn't fuss with that. Now, I will say that if you want to get invited to table game tournaments, but you're mainly a video poker player, it might help to do some table game play. For example, when I first moved here, I loved playing table game tournaments, but I mainly played video poker. So I ran through a lot of money playing 9-6 jacks, building up a Theo to get invited to these table game tournaments. But I think, and maybe I'm wrong, but I also think that it helped for appearance's sake for me to sometimes play table games, which I did. And yeah, so that is my answer to that one.
Cool. Very, very cool. Okay.
Okay, who knew the only Supreme Court justice to be impeached?
We do not have an answer to that.
Okay, the answer is, again, Salmon P. Chase, who you may remember from the $10,000 bill. So much like President Johnson, Clinton, and Trump twice, he was impeached, but he didn't get the necessary votes in the Senate to be removed from office.
Very cool.
Okay, let's go on to the next one. On which day of the year does a Supreme Court session begin?
So if you guys know the answer, put it in the chat. I'm guessing it's not January 1st.
Nope. As you may know, the Supreme Court is in session right now. So they work like a long session and then they take a long break.
Okay. So it's not like they're just working year round and
Right.
okay. So our next question, do you want to have it be from our viewers or would you like
Let's
to
do another from the peanut gallery?
Okay. Let's see here. William Schittner has said, has anyone here ever been cheated in a licensed casino?
Well, I have not.
Yeah, I don't think. See, it's sort of good that we have this question because the thing that they teach dealers, and this is like of one of the utmost things that they teach dealers, is that the honesty and integrity of the game is of the utmost importance. You have to deal a fair game, and they do everything they can to make sure you deal a fair game. That's why we have so many rules and procedures we got to follow as dealers. So if any of them lost their license for cheating, it's just not worth it to them.
Yeah, and I might add that if a player feels he was cheated, anyone is entitled to bring a complaint to the gaming control board, even if it's a complaint over just 10 cents. And they will conduct an investigation and a hearing, and they will definitely look into it. And at one time I said that things seem to always cut the casinos away when they made a decision, but I don't say that anymore. I think they're really being quite fair lately.
Lately is in, this is 2021, so the past how many years?
I think that they've been, I think that I've kind of changed my position about 10 years ago. Before that, so every case that I was aware of, they seemed to agree with the casino. But now, like I said, they're being much more fair. And maybe this is kind of an obvious case, but there was somebody on my forum mentioned that he made the fortune side bet in Pai Gow poker, and he won. I don't remember the exact amount, but it was, for the sake of discussion, let's say it was $120,000, something like that, the jackpot, and the biggest thing you could win. And then when they came time to pay him, they only paid him $80,000, and the player said, "Didn't I win 120?" And they said, "No, we have an aggregate maximum payout rule of 80,000." And then he pulled out a sign and put it on the table that said that. And the player said, "That sign wasn't on the table at the time I made the bet." And the casino manager said, that we just forgot to put it there. It's a long-standing casino policy, and you can see it on lots of the other tables. And so the player took it to the gaming control board, and the gaming control board correctly found in favor of the player because that sign was not on the table at the time he made the bet.
Okay.
And this happened at the Flamingo, by the way. So I kind of wag my finger of shame at them for not paying that bet.
Well, there are definitely
and they had to once the gaming control board sided in the player's favor.
Right. Well, we definitely have heard about disputes between casinos and players, so we're not saying like that doesn't happen. That
Yep,
definitely happens. Uh,
absolutely.
we're just saying they have to deal a fair game for sure.
I agree 100%. So let's move on.
Sounds good. So
Okay, who
answer to
knows
the
when
trivia.
a Supreme Court session starts? What time of the year?
We do not have an answer to that.
Really?
Unless Yo is a month or a time of the year.
The good old month of Yo. Probably the 11th month. No, November. No, it is not the month of Yo. It is the first Monday in October.
Oh, okay.
There you go. Next question. Um, which two presidents have appointed the most justices?
Ooh, good question.
And for bonus points, how many?
So if you guys know the answer, put it in the chat.
Okay.
Also, too, if you have any questions for Michael Shackelford, please put those in the chat as well. And then
Okay.
would you like to do a forum question or a viewer
Yes,
question?
let's go. There's two more forum questions. Plover. Heather, do you know what a plover is?
A clover that's been crushed.
Nice, but a plover is a kind of bird, and they're endangered. At least the snowy plover is endangered, and I know this because where I went to college, Santa Barbara, there were still some plovers in the wild, and they went to a lot of trouble to try to keep people away from their habitat. Okay, so he or she, are there any good books about slot machines? Short answer is no. If there were an easy way to beat slot machines, it would, by the time the book was out there, chances are probably everybody would know about it, and it wouldn't be good anymore. But let me show you one book that was decent at one time, and that is it's called $1 Million Slots, and I'm trying to remember who wrote it because I alphabetized my books by Peter Liston, I think. Where did I put that? Yeah, here we go. So this is a good book, but at least in the United States, this play is not very good anymore. But he beat what are called must-hit by progressives. And according to him, and I don't doubt him, I've met the man, made over $1 million doing this, and he did it in Australia. And this secret is long since out in the U.S., and there are plenty of advantage players that check these must-hit by games, and if the progressives go over a certain amount, then advantage players will quickly be on them. Now, I do think that this is probably still somewhat good in small markets, like, say, Oregon, Washington, or New Mexico. But everyone says that it's no good in Las Vegas because everybody knows about the play. So I can't think of any other books I can recommend about slots. It's a horrible way to gamble in general. So, yeah. Okay.
Okay.
Did anyone know? What was the last question I asked? Yeah, which presidents appointed the most justices?
So we have a couple questions here, or a couple answers, I should say. First one is Ronald Reagan and Bill Clinton.
I believe both of them appointed two each, which is not that many compared to the two presidents that appointed the most.
How about George Washington and Trump?
George Washington, absolutely, because the bench was completely empty when he was president, so he got to pick every single justice, and I think some of them even retired during his presidency, so he got to appoint even more.
Oh, wow.
And I'll deal with this question later, but there haven't always been 9 justices. So maybe there were more when he was president, but George Washington appointed 12 justices.
Wow.
And Trump appointed 3, which is a lot for a one-term president. But no, 3 is not enough to come in second.
Okay, so in that case, I guess that means Ronald Reagan and Trump isn't the correct answer either.
Nope.
And those are the answers we have for that question.
Well, the president to appoint the second most is the president who served over 3 terms, being obviously Franklin Delano Roosevelt, and he appointed 8 justices.
Very cool.
There you go. Okay, next question. Who was the oldest justice to serve on the court?
There's a lot of old people. That's a hard one.
Yeah,
okay, so
it's a job for life, and a lot of people don't want to give their seat up to somebody else.
So if you guys know the answer, put that in the chat. And until then, shall we do another viewer question?
Let's see. Okay, I have one more Wizard of Vegas question.
Cool.
Okay. Heather, do you understand this question? Somebody asks both of us, why is there something instead of nothing?
It sounds very philosophical.
Okay, well, I'll address that. Is no matter which side you are on, like science or religion, you can ask the question, religious people can ask, if you atheists think there's no God, then where did everything come from? Who made it all? But meanwhile, I would say the scientific people can say, if God made everything, then who made God? So both sides, kind of that knife cuts both ways. Now, my personal opinion is the laws of quantum physics allow for something to be created out of nothing. And I can't take this very far, but I will say that if the exact same thing happened with antimatter, for example, it is possible that this die could appear out of thin air as long as an antimatter die appeared somewhere else, and it could be completely on the other side of the universe, appeared at the same time. Because basically that the energy negates each other. So I would say that it's entirely possible that there was just like a big explosion of matter being created through quantum physics, and maybe there was another big explosion that was basically the opposite of antimatter. And but then you might say, well, didn't they all cancel each other out? But it's possible that there is just an antimatter universe somewhere else that's much like ours, but just the opposite, just like the bizarro world. So that's as deep as I can take that. Heather, what are your thoughts?
You are way deeper than me. This entire time, I'm just thinking when the dog ate my homework, he produced crap. So that's technically producing something out of nothing.
But no, he produced it out of your homework.
Like I said, nothing. Like it was crap. It was technically he ate it and it became crap. So it was literally what it should have been.
Are you trying to say that your homework was that you didn't, shall we say, do a good job on it?
Well, you know, if it's that or an F, I think the crap might be a better place for it.
And did you ever try to use that excuse for not turning in homework?
Yes, and they wouldn't believe me. See, we didn't have
and was it true?
We didn't have we didn't have camera cell phones when I was in high school, so I couldn't actually take a video of my dog eating it. But yes, it was true. My dog did eat the homework.
Now, if I were a teacher and someone said the dog ate my homework and here is a video of him eating it, I would say, well, why didn't you stop the dog from eating it? And he could be eating anything. How do I know that's your homework?
Because I was too busy taking a video of him eating my homework. That's why I didn't stop him.
That wouldn't have fooled me, Heather. would have had a big old red 0 for that assignment.
Did you ever miss an assignment and have to come up with a really horrible excuse or reason
No,
why?
if I may toot my own horn, I was a good student, and I like learning things, and I like homework, and I like tests. I'm not saying I liked every assignment that I was ever given, but no, I was a good student, and I
You're
never
you're
once got
telling
in trouble
me
for anything.
that's what I was going to say. You're telling me you never got in trouble for anything when you were a teenager.
Nothing comes to mind.
You didn't even sneak into Disneyland or anything?
No. Now I will admit that I worked at Disneyland in the summer of 1985, and I helped. No, I can't even say that. But I think the way you phrase the question is, did you ever get in trouble for anything?
Are you going to talk to me like a lawyer?
Yes, yeah, I claim that I never did, but that doesn't mean that I never did anything bad. I just didn't get caught.
Oh, that makes me really suspicious. I want to know what you did that you
But
didn't get
trust
caught
me,
for.
I never. Even if you looked at stuff that I did that I didn't get caught for, I have nothing impressive, no impressive stories. I basically was a pretty rule abiding person.
Okay. Do you want to do a question from the viewer, or would you like to see if they answered that trivia question?
Okay, so the last one was, what was the last one? Yeah, who was the oldest justice? Did anyone get it? Anyone guess?
Let's see here. Was it Seinfeld?
No, Jerry Seinfeld was not the oldest living Supreme Court justice, if that's what he was saying Seinfeld to. I don't see anything there that looks like the right answer, and the right answer is Oliver Wendell Holmes, who served as a justice until the age of 90.
Oh, okay.
Okay, next question. What does the marshal announce at the opening of every daily session of the Supreme Court?
So if you guys know the answer, put that in the chat. And until then, we will do our next question from a viewer. And that is from Talented. If you had to win only one unit in Baccarat, what would you bet? Which staking method would you apply? Much obliged.
The simple answer is I would just make a 1 unit bet on the player. No. Here's what I would do: is I would go to commission-free Baccarat and make 1 bet on the banker. And but let's say the commission-free Baccarat wasn't available. Then, if this were dealing with small amounts of money, then I would just bet on the player to get it over with. But the house advantage is about 0.2% less on the banker, but you have to pay a 5% commission. So what I might do is I would bet my full thing on the banker. So let's say that's $100. I win $95. So now I've just got to win $5 more. Then what I would bet is 5 divided by 0.95. I would bet $5.26 in theory.
Wait. Let's get, okay. There we go.
On the banker again. That
Can
would
you
get
show it
rounded
one
down
more
to
time?
5, and I would win my full 100.
Can you show it one more time?
Sure.
And then just say that last part one more time.
That I would bet $5.26 after betting $100. So a bet of exactly $5.26 would win $5. So I would win 95 plus 5, and that equals 100. Now, somebody might say, Mike, they're not going to take a bet of $5.26 in Baccarat, especially the 26 cents. In that case, maybe I would just bet the full $6, and It all depends upon how they round at the table and stuff like that. But unless huge amounts of money were involved, I would just bet the player and get it over with and go my merry way.
Okay.
Okay.
Cool. Okay, so answers to the trivia question. Let's see if anybody got this. And what was that trivia question again? And I don't see any answers.
Okay. This is what the marshal says at the opening of every daily session. The Honorable, the Chief Justice, and the Associate Justices of the Supreme Court of the United States. Oyez, oyez, oyez. All persons having business before the Honorable, the Supreme Court of the United States are admonished to draw near and give their attention, for the court is now sitting. God save the United States and this honorable court. Now, that leads to a follow-up question. What does oyez mean? And it's spelled O-Y-E-Z. And you may recall in the middle of that, he says oyez, 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 if I'm pronouncing it right.
I'm thinking, oy vey, let's party.
Well, happy Hanukkah to you too.
Oh, and would you like to do another trivia question?
Well, I just asked about the oyez, so let's let the peanut gallery ponder that one while you ask me another gambling question.
That's where we were. Okay. So our next question comes from, and this might be a little bit out of order. Let's see. Jason says, Mike, do you have a personal favorite craps strategy? And what is your opinion on the martingale as a viable strategy in the long term?
Okay. My advice and the strategy I follow in craps is, first of all, stick to the line bets only, mainly pass, don't pass, come and don't come. Back them up with the full odds. How many come and don't come bets you make is up to you. Doesn't really matter. I will have to say that the don't side is a little bit better than the pass and come side. However, if it makes the game more fun for you to bet on the pass and the come, then go ahead. It's a really minuscule difference, and that is how I play. And as to the martingale, it is just as worthless as every other betting system. It's not something you would ever see me playing unless I was in a tournament or there were some kind of extenuating circumstances where I needed to have just a small win and I had a large amount of money to make sure that I achieved that. And tournaments are a good example of a situation where you might need to use the martingale. But yeah, in general, I'm a flat better. I bet consistently. I don't try to find the temperature of the table or any nonsense like that. I'm just usually I just bet the same way and the same amount the entire time.
You're telling me you don't strut up to a craps table with a beautiful woman on each arm and then have them blow in the dice and everything as you throw the dice?
If I had the two beautiful women, I would ask them to do that. But no. What can I say? I can't remember one time playing craps with a beautiful woman.
Lies.
It's usually my male friends as usual.
Okay, well, let's see. I do not see any answers to that trivia question. Oh, wait, we have one. Does it mean hear ye?
Yes, I will accept that.
Yes. Awesome.
It basically means listen or pay attention, hear, something like that. It comes from the French verb. It comes from the French word. I don't know how to pronounce this. I hardly know any French. Oyer, spelled O-U, I with an umlaut and an R. And that is the infinitive form of to hear in French. And I can say that the verb for to hear in Spanish is oyer. So it comes from that same Latin, at least I think it's Latin, it might be Greek, root for to listen. So I will accept, hear ye, and good job, Jason Penn. You get a brownie point.
So basically, I should say "oys" if I want someone to listen to me.
Yes, you should say oye, oye, oye.
Oye, oye, oye. Awesome.
Yep.
Cool. So what is our next trivia question?
The next question is, and I talked about this a little bit earlier, but what does the Constitution say is the number of justices that should sit on the Supreme Court at any one time?
So if you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. And until then, viewer question?
Yep.
Great. So our next one is from Simple Man. Is it worth it to learn more than the illustrate? I'm going to totally
Illustrious.
Thank you. 18 blackjack deviations. I'm afraid at some point it may be information overload. How often will these other situations come up?
I would say that unless you're a really serious and probably full-time card counter, I think that the Illustrious 18 is enough. That's all I ever memorized. And for people who may not understand the question, card counters not only bet more according or less according to the count, but they also will change how they play certain borderline hands, like 16 against the 10, being more inclined to stand if the count is big. And so the Illustrious 18 are the 18 most important index numbers to memorize. And I think that memorizing just these 18 is something like 90% as effective as memorizing all of them. So just by memorizing like 1/3 of them, you get 90% of the effectiveness. So I think for hobbyist counters, I think the Illustrious 18 is enough.
Okay. Good to know. Now let's see if we have any answers to that trivia question. There is no number, just like there is no spoon.
That is right. I also see 8 and 12, which are not correct. I think it's good to have an odd number of justices, so there's not going to be any ties. But no, the Constitution does not say. That is left up to the Congress. And it has been 9 since 1869. And there is a little bit of talk about increasing the number, and I won't get political as to why, but I think one side could make a reasonable argument that it would only be fair based upon what happened after Ruth Bader Ginsburg died. Mm-hmm. But let's not go there. So let's go to the next question. Okay. And if you were listening carefully to the answer to a previous one, what is the proper name of the Supreme Court? It's not just the Supreme Court. It has a longer name.
If you guys know the answer to that, put that in the chat. And then do you want to do a forum question or a viewer question?
No, I'm out of forum questions, so let's go back to the peanut gallery.
Okay, cool. So our next question comes from the dead student. Mike, I am a huge fan, and I also work in the casino. I was wondering about the fire bets on craps and what they entail. Is it the same for all casinos?
Well, thanks for the compliment. I go into the fire bet in great depth on my website. So go to craps and then craps side bets and then the fire bet. And I think that there are like 5 different pay tables floating out there. And yeah, you can find everything that you need to know on my website. As a player, I don't recommend making them, but as a casino, I would recommend having them. And yeah, that's about as far as I can take that. But I will say that calculating the odds of the fire bet can be done using calculus, and it's really fascinating. And I go through how to use calculus to analyze the fire bet on my website. So I really challenge my viewers who are fresh with integral calculus to check that out.
Very, very cool. Okay, let's see if we have any answers to your trivia question. And
Yes, I see one.
SCOTUS, is that it?
Yes, Simple Man got it. It's the Supreme Court of the United States, and it's abbreviated. I shouldn't say abbreviated. The acronym is SCOTUS.
Yay.
Yay, good job.
Whew.
Okay, and the last Supreme Court question
Okay.
is, when did the court finally get its own building?
So if you guys know the answer, put it in the chat. And now we have a viewer question from Simple Man. Are video poker strategies universal, or is it something that will change based on the state you play in?
The same pay table will be the same strategy from state to state. The only exception would be that some states have, I'll call them pull tab games that are disguised as video poker, where the outcome is predestined. And in that case, it doesn't make any difference what you do. But as long as it's a fair video poker game where the player controls his own destiny, then yes, any strategy should work for the same game and pay table. However, just in the last week or 2 weeks, somebody pointed out, and they gave me a video of themselves playing 9-6 jacks or better at an internet casino, and the player was getting back on the draw some cards that he discarded. And at first I thought, I was just outraged by this. This is just total cheating. I have never seen video poker played like this before. And I spent a great deal of time analyzing the effect of this rule. And the bottom line is that it was worth about 2.9% in the casino's favor. But then somebody pointed out that the casino did disclose this rule in their rules page. And so I had to take a softer stance with the whole thing, because they did disclose it. Now, how many players actually read the rule screens of video poker? Probably like 1% of 1%, because it's such a well-known game that the rules are common knowledge. But in the event that there is some kind of a bizarre rule like that, that will change the strategy.
So that's sort of similar, like hiding it in the terms of services. Nobody ever reads that stuff.
Yeah. And frankly, I wag my finger of shame at pure RNG software for this game. And at least one player is in the process of complaining to, I think I'm allowed to say this, Bet Online Casino, which does offer this game. And they're in negotiations about getting some, what's the word I'm looking for? Redress for offering this game. So I continue to monitor this situation closely. So if you have played this game by pure RNG software, there's a whole thread about this on my site. On my forum. So check that out. And I think that any player who's played this game should be asking the casino for some of their money back.
Dang. Okay.
That's about as far as I can take that one. Okay, when did the Supreme Court finally get a building of their own?
Nobody has an answer, but Simple Man says, I know the Supreme Court is meant to look like a pantheon.
Yeah, it does kind of. A lot of the buildings in Washington, D.C., a lot of the classic famous buildings look like that in the traditional Greek style. And it's because our form of government, if I'm not mistaken, is based upon the form of government that they had in Greece way back when. So the answer is 1935. So for over 150 years, the court met in basements and other miscellaneous rooms of, I believe most of the time it was in the Congressional building. And way back when, they actually roamed around the country And for example, if they were listening to, say, a case on the Fifth District Court, they would actually travel to probably San Francisco or wherever to actually hear the case there. But they don't do that anymore. So yeah, it took them a long time to get a home of their own. Okay, so that's all I've got on the Supreme Court, and it looks like I timed myself pretty well as we are out of time. Heather, are there any questions that look good to you that I didn't address?
Well, we do have a lot of questions that we didn't get to. So if you guys join us the next time that we're here, be sure to get here early, ask your question. We always ask the questions to come first rather than later. Do you want to do one more question?
Okay.
Okay. So this is completely a random question, not in order. Talented had a follow-up question for his previous question. Are there patterns in Baccarat or are they completely random?
For all intents and purposes, the hands are random. The past makes very, very, very little difference. So, you know, for example, all this record keeping that players do or looking at the sign, it doesn't help. My recommendation is to stick to the banker and player only, and between those two, the banker is better. So, so the short answer though is no. So to follow up on something you said, Heather, yeah, I apologize to questions that we didn't get to, and we don't just go in order. I will admit that there is a little bit of cherry picking, and we try to pick questions that we think the audience will appreciate more. It's not a terribly scientific process. So try to make your questions interesting that you think other people would be interested in the answer to, and probably not just some situation that is very specific to you that nobody else will ever see. So yeah, so thanks Heather for producing the show, and thanks for everyone in the Peanut Gallery for participating.
No problem. And when is the next time we're gonna see you?
Well, let's get out my calendar here. How about December 16th?
Sounds good. So December 16th, 3 p.m. Pacific Standard Time.
Yep. Let me write that down before I forget.
Thank you guys so much for joining us. Thank you guys so much for watching. We really do appreciate you coming here and asking these questions and everything.
Absolutely.
Cool. Talk to you later.
Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everybody.
You're
See you in 2
welcome.
weeks.
Bye.